All right, Matt, I'm going to set the stage for you.
I'm ready.
Congratulations. You just got your first grant award.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And you open up that envelope and there's a check in there, right?
Apparently.
Yeah, and then just like confetti pops out and that's it.
Yeah.
You got your money.
Because my organization, everyone's like, oh, wow, we're so nice. Here's all this money. Is that how it works?
Absolutely. And you took the check, you deposited the check, you cleaned up all the confetti because you're a little OCD like that.
I am.
And then what happened was you spent the money and you read the fine print, all 40 pages of it.
And I'm screwed.
And 18 years of commitment. And you used the wrong printer paper and you got to pay them back.
Yeah, that's compliance though, you know, but you got to read the fine print, unfortunately.
Do people really read the fine print?
In our industry, absolutely not.
Yeah, no, they don't. And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And still employed.
Well, if everybody was giving out free money, we wouldn't have jobs anymore. So it's a good thing that there are compliance.
And luckily, we are still employed. So with
That's
that,
true. We're here to help.
I'm Jared Krieger, the K in KG.
And I'm Matt Goodman, the G in KG.
And welcome to Go Fund Yourself. There is like this myth about grants that you just find your way to an organization that makes sense to you.
Right.
And you apply, you have a mission statement, a proposal, and it's put together and it makes sense. And then they're just going to be like, wow, this
works.
This organization here is the one where we want to give money to.
But unfortunately, there's 100 organizations that are doing the same thing. How do they separate themselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the true question, right? Is how do we separate ourselves from every other person who's doing the same thing?
Yeah.
It's not like nonprofits are doing like the most glamorous things sometimes. It's sometimes thankless work. It isn't like high profit margins. It's not fun to do.
It doesn't mean they don't deserve funding, though.
Of course not. They deserve it more than anybody else.
Right.
But how do they deserve it more than the next nonprofit who's also kind of fulfilling that need?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the difference is it really we need the money, or is it we can execute the funder's mission better?
Yeah. We see it all the time where organizations, you know, they believe that their mission means the most, you know, they're the best one out there, but how can they and their writers show that and, you know, within the grant world?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you a little bit of a story, not to get too sidetracked, but you know.
Here we go.
Listen, you know our roles, right? I
Right.
do a ton of the off-track talking, and then you kind of get me back to the beaten
That's
path.
it. That's
it's
us.
perfect, yeah. The G always complements the K.
That's what they say.
how it works, yeah. I don't know if anybody's actually said that.
That's
but
correct.
fine.
No one's actually said
right,
that.
So anyway, I had an organization long before we started KG,
Yeah.
and they submitted, I would say, thousands of letters of intent to organizations asking for money.
Right.
Can you guess how much money they really got?
Not a ton.
Zero.
Yeah.
Actually, it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing. But how much money did they spend in labor hours and time to kind of put together all of those meaningless like letters of intent?
Well, I feel like people see those, you know, the questions that are involved in that, and then they copy and paste, right? They're not, it doesn't turn into, hey, what's your mission? Let's describe it. It turns into, let me copy this paragraph, put it on the next one, and hope we get the funding.
Yeah, well, we see that a ton, right? A little bit of copy paste, a little bit of chat GPT here
That's
and
it,
there, and
yeah.
you know it reads pretty poorly.
Yeah.
Something that I learned really early on that I started doing differently is everybody loves to have a choice, right? And so let's say your application is number 500
Right.
in a pool of 1,000, so you're right in the middle. Well, being in the middle in the grant world is the worst possible position to be in, right? You weren't read first. You weren't read last.
And you weren't read well.
And you weren't read very well, right? How do you separate yourself in the pack? And so something that I started doing differently was instead of being like, hey, we're doing X and we need money to do Y in order to get to Z, we removed the variables. I said, let's let the funders make their own decisions, right? Everybody's putting in applications that are, I'm telling you what I need.
Right.
Well, I don't like it when you tell me what to do.
I do it often.
I actually hate it when you tell me what to do.
No, I know that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I make that clear. So why should grant funding be any different, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I sat there and I said to myself, how can we change the dynamic? So what we started doing was we started just explaining what we do, how much it costs, and then how we'd like to do more.
Right.
And then we let the funders kind of do the math, do the calculation, and kind of give them a stake in the game.
Yeah. You start operating in a different realm. I feel like when the grant funder reads differently, if we can get them to read differently and get them to understand differently, I think they're more willing to fund, right? That's what we see.
Yeah. Let them feel like they're part of the mission.
Right.
Like, let them say, hey, I was the one who approved this grant. I was the one who gave this disbursement because I wanted them to be able to expand this mission, not just check yes on a request.
Well, I feel like it's a lot of buy-in too, right? I feel like from an organization, they need to buy into their own program, but I feel like if you can get a grant funder to buy in to feeling like they made a difference in your organization, it goes a lot longer way.
Yeah. Well, that brings up an interesting point.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people forget this.
Yeah.
And lucky for me, I have you to keep me organized.
That's so nice of you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, don't let it go to your head
It
because the
won't,
compliments are like far and few between.
Oh, I know.
What people often forget is that just because you've gotten that check yes or hey, we want to be part of this mission, what comes next?
Yeah.
Right? And you just mentioned something really important, which was the buy-in.
Yeah.
Right? The buy-in on a grant, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, people are very confused about it, right? We see where they get the check and then all of a sudden they're like, they throw their hands in the air and they have no idea what they're doing. What comes after that? Where's the project management? How do we oversee this? You know, we see it all the time where organizations will get in documents stating, tell me where your money's going. And then they're like, well, you're telling me I need actual receipts or actual documents? And then they throw their hands in the air and then all of a sudden they're giving the money back.
Right. You know? It's like, I mean, we deal with nonprofits every day who we put award agreements right in front of them and they read it and they're like, wait, we have to do a quarterly status report? What is that? Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we have to do another audit? But we just did it.
Right.
Right. And I'm like, you're receiving $1 million in taxpayer funds.
Lean in, enjoy it.
Buy it.
Buy in.
Like, why wouldn't you want to complete an audit and prove that you're utilizing funds correctly for the mission in exchange for, let me just say it one more time, taxpayer money, right? Like when I get a check every 2 weeks and pay income taxes,
Right.
You're getting the money that I paid to Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Right? Why wouldn't you want to be transparent about that? And so what happens is that there's this idea that you get the money, that's it, right? And then you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
But that's really not the reality.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in the buy-in, right? An organization has to care about what they're doing, and part of our job as consultants is aligning our values and within an organization that believes that. You know, we find organizations all the time that come to us and say, hey, you know, we want your help, and then we provide them with the help, and they're like, hey, that's not actually the direction. And not that we're always right? We're not always
maybe you're not always right.
Yeah, I know that you feel like you are.
I mean, no, I am.
Oh, sure.
No, it's not a feeling. I know it.
But, you know, in this industry, you know, we try to lean forward into the right ways of things to do, and we see that there are some organizations that just aren't a good fit, you know, and that we're trying to lean in and prove them the right way.
Yeah, and I think you said something that was really, really important. Not the part where you question whether I'm right all the time. That's not important.
That's important
and
to
to
me.
the listeners out there, he's wrong. I am right all the time. But the thing that I want to most importantly point out about what you said is that you hit the nail on the head. Organizations feel like they receive the money and they're like, well, I just want to use it for what I want to use it for.
Yeah.
That's not how this works.
No, not at all.
We asked for something very specific in your application, and a funder said, yeah, I'd love that thing. That thing.
Yeah.
Not this thing
That
or
thing.
the other thing, but that particular thing. you need to do that. You can't just use the money.
Yeah. Well, we see it sometimes in some of the grants that we get, like you had mentioned, we get funding in the door, let's say for education, right? And we come back from an organization that says, well, we have a program within an educational sector that we'd like to put into a field and have a fence. So I think the funding should go towards the fence, which has nothing to do with the education. No.
X.
Yeah, nothing to do with the education. Let's say we're writing for laptops, they come back, and again, we've seen this where they're like, hey, fencing's great, or I want a new roof because it's overseeing my educational institution. There are different ways that people need to go about it.
Oh, I see what you did there, like physically overseeing, like physically over top.
Look at that.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
No.
It's just not possible.
They won't get it in the door,
Textbooks, maybe.
Yeah.
Roofs, probably not.
No.
And I think going back to the way beginning of the conversation, the misconceptions that this is just like some free-flowing pot of line of credit that you can just pull from, use, whatever. This is a contractual agreement.
Right.
It's a contract with perks and vibes.
Yeah.
Right? You have to feel the emotion and the static. It's like when we were sitting around the dining table last night and we were having our little bourbon tasting together to celebrate you coming back up to the coldness, to the cold, right? And for those of you who don't know, Matt moved to Florida, and every
much
morning,
sunnier, warmer.
All right,
Florida,
yeah. Stay on track. Anyway, every morning when we meet, he's like, "Oh, what's the temperature there, guys? Because it's really chilly here." And me and my other partners are like, "Yeah, it's 15 degrees here."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my God, it's freezing in Florida too. It's 60 degrees this morning." And anyway, not to get too off track.
Don't get off too off track. That's my job. Keep you on track.
Yeah, where were we?
Yeah.
Anyway, just kidding. So when we were drinking the bourbon last night and we had the little candies, right? What were they called?
Zots, I think.
The Zots.
Yeah.
The Zots, right? And you bit in, and at first they were sweet, and then you bit in, and it was like zing, right? It was like pop rocks in your mouth, right? That's what people should think of in a grant contract, right? It's at first it's sweet and it's nice, and then it shocks your system.
Right.
It is a shock to the system. You need to abide by the rules, right? And a shock to the system can be an awesome reset.
Absolutely.
It can also be a not so awesome reset if you're not prepared.
Yeah, it scares people. It makes them, they get a check for $20,000, $30,000 or maybe up to $1 million, and they're like, okay, now what do I do? What do I do next? And that's where we come in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is really just people hear cha-ching, 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 which, don't get me wrong, I also like to hear
you do.
cha-ching. Oh, okay, listen, you also
I do.
like to hear
I do.
cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. The difference is that we're talking about like large-scale deposits, like future-changing amounts of money, making critical changes to community needs. What's the guidance like? Like, where do we step in and say, okay, this isn't right, it needs to be fixed first? Or is there a place that we can direct them to? Like, what is that process?
Yeah, I think organization is key. I think that from the jump, like we had mentioned about buy-in, but people have got to understand that there's more to just, not just having a nonprofit. There's things that go into it, board members and budgets and all those items have to be in place. We see it with larger organizations as well. It's not just the small nonprofits that are like, hey, we need direction. It's some of the bigger ones where we come in and say, we see that you've been doing it this way. They come back to us and say, well, we haven't received the funding that we wish we would have. And, we kind of shake things up a little bit. You need to have a little bit of pizzazz in your
A little bit of pizzazz.
Yeah, in your enviment.
For those of you who are just listening but not watching, I literally just watched the widest man I know do a shimmy shake salsa dance in his,
little
in his
rhythm
chair,
don't hurt nobody,
which was a very interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
I could go my entire life without seeing it again. All right, so we've established that grants seem impossible.
Right.
Right. We've established, and everybody's probably like, what's even the point? Like, where do we get through this? It's impossible to get. What do we do?
Yeah.
Luckily, the federal government, in its infinite wisdom, said, here's 2 CFR uniform guidelines, right? And everybody loves government programming.
Right.
Let me tell you something about 2CFR. It reads so nicely and smooth, right?
Beautifully.
Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. It doesn't. It reads like, a bureaucrat who just decided, hey, I'm going to put as many adjectives in every sentence as I possibly can.
Let's make it as difficult as possible.
And let's make it as difficult as possible for people to apply. And that gets even more confusing with what I'm about to say, which is every private foundation out there has their own version of like a 2CFR document.
Layers.
And they're all different.
Layers
Every
on
single
layers on
one
layers.
is completely different.
Yep. Can't make it up.
How is a nonprofit who already has razor thin margins, can't afford to do what they're trying to do already, supposed to navigate all of these different things and rules and foundations and community foundations and associations, and they're operating out of their house and their homeowners association says no, and like what exactly are they supposed to do when it's impossible.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do?
It's organization. You got to stay on top of it. You got to stay on top of keeping things organized. Studying, looking this up, but it's free flowing in the nonprofit world. It just is. It's unfortunate that there aren't specific guidelines that we need to follow. As much as we think there are, it's always, hey, here's this, but also this, or hey, here's this, but also this. It makes it difficult. So it's tough for them.
Yeah, well, give me 1 second. I gotta wet my vocal cords. Shout out to Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe they'll sponsor us for the next episode.
How nice would that be? Duncan, hit us up.
Yep. At Dunkin' Donuts, who also gives out grants, by the way.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's so
would think
funny.
that.
Nobody ever thinks about Dunkin' Donuts giving out grants.
Nope.
Is there any standardization across private foundations and the rules for them giving out funding at all?
No, not necessarily.
No, yeah. It's actually kind of crazy to think how little like guidance there is between foundations.
Right.
You have foundations that are giving out millions and millions of dollars a year, and there are literally rules that are self-dictated. Like they just make them up as they go sometimes.
Yeah, and that's obviously very difficult. When people look at a foundation that they think aligns with their mission, and then they're like, well, not this time.
So what's the best way to get somebody to look into these rules? Like, should we just Google it?
You go ahead and Google what the meaning of that is.
Should I Google it?
You should try
No, I think
it.
you should Google. Pull out your phone
You
and
want me to
Google
pull it up? All right, let's see what I got here.
Yeah, pull out your phone and Google it real quick, and let me know what that says.
Let's see what we got. It says, a grant is a way the government funds your ideas and projects to provide public services and stimulate the economy. Brilliant.
Excuse my French, but what the fuck does that mean?
What the fun does that mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And that's where people go, right? People are looking at Google saying, give me the answers, because they don't have people like us or, within the organization that can take care of it.
I can't believe that Google gave that answer. It's really non-specific. What does any of that mean?
You can't decipher it.
None of that meant anything at all.
Right.
Completely.
Right.
I swear, Google turns grants into like the same thing that WebMD does to diseases. WebMD will turn your common cold into a disease that'll kill you in less than 24 hours.
That's right.
And that's what Google does to grants.
Yeah.
So what do people do? Like, how do they get a grant? Like, how does this even work? Like, what do they do? And my biggest thing is I always say that for organizations, there are a couple of major issues. One is sourcing.
Right.
Then procuring.
Right.
Then maintaining and complying.
Right.
And then doing it all over again. And each of those things is a full-time job.
Absolutely.
And what's the budget for that? Like, where is it? Where does it come from?
We need the cheat guide. We need the cheat guide for us.
That's
would
me.
help
Wait, I thought I was the cheat code.
You are the cheat code. We are the cheat codes.
Cheat code, baby. The cheat code is KG. You just type it in, and then on your grant application, it just auto approves.
That's right.
The problem is that the advice that you'll see online is so simple and nonspecific. It's just apply for as many grants as you possibly can in the shortest period of time, physically possible for your mental well-being, which makes people go insane, by the way.
Hey, when you're ready to faint, keep going.
Because I don't know if the listeners can really like hear this, but if we laugh a lot, because if you don't laugh a lot in the grant world,
you're done.
Well, you cry a lot.
You're crippled.
Yeah, you just cry and you get sad about it.
Yeah.
So they go online and it literally says, okay, do as many grant applications as you possibly can. And then they are so disenfranchised when they applied to 1,000 different foundations and they got one, none, two, three, right?
Right.
You know, you played baseball.
I did.
Right? If you only got a hit on the ball, every 1 out of 1,000 at bats,
I wouldn't be playing anymore.
You wouldn't have played college baseball, buddy. And that's the problem that we're seeing is that it's non-specific rules. There's no strategy. There's no plan. So where does that leave the nonprofit world?
Yeah, it leaves us in spots to like jobs like ours, like we had mentioned about buy-in. We live and die by this, right? This is everything we do. This is everything we love to do. You don't find many people who love to do what we do. So I think that's why we're valuable. But,
are you implying that I love what we're doing?
Is that not a good?
I'm just kidding. No, I really do like it. And here's the thing, right? The reason I like it is not because of the reasons that immediately pop into your head.
Yeah.
The reasons that I like it are because there's a power imbalance here.
Yeah.
There are foundations who hold all of the power. A government holds all of the power and says, we have the money, therefore you do X. Right? And organizations that require those funds feel a certain sense of anxiety because without those funds, there just isn't a roadmap to success without it. And that's a very anxious position to be in. Like, it's the same thing as when I go to process payroll every 2 weeks and I didn't like something that you just said to me. And so I say to you, hey, I might miss you on payroll.
Yeah, that's good. You'll hear that from my wife. I'm sure she'll love that.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. It's that. And, that's a joke between us, maybe. I mean, we'll see how today goes.
Yeah.
But, that's a very real situation for a lot of nonprofits is we're reliant on this grant funding, but we have no power or say in how it gets to us, when it gets to us, the process of it getting to us. What do we do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all up in the air, which is scary for people. A lot of people want to know the answers that are in front of them, and when they don't get those, they shelter. They hide.
Is that why you don't talk to me sometimes?
That's exactly why.
That's kind of messed up.
I hide from you.
That's kind of messed up. Now, there's also this other thing that goes on, which is how does a $500,000 a year nonprofit compete with a $50 million a year nonprofit?
Yeah, I mean
does it matter?
We see it all the time. It does matter. I think it matters of the mindset of those individuals, right? You can't think just because you're a $500,000 nonprofit, let's say even smaller, some of the smaller nonprofits we have. You can't just sit there and say, well, we know they're out there. We're not going to get it because the bigger guy's going to take it and that's what it's going to be. How do you compete in an industry that's very diverse but also competitive,
We talked before about the difference in application is not specifically the mission you're doing, but whether you can execute on the funder's mission, right?
Right.
Is there a world where a smaller nonprofit with a smaller or more local geographical or demographical or socioeconomic reach could actually execute a foundation's or a funder's mission better than a huge nonprofit?
100%.
And look, there's a saying in the grant world and in the nonprofit world specifically. Now, listen, it's an exception, not the rule, that the larger nonprofit gets, sometimes the harder it is for them to actually execute the mission.
Right. We've seen that recently.
Yeah, that they are actually trying to do.
Yeah.
Right, because it becomes closer to a business that it does a nonprofit, which is fine,
Right.
as long as they stay on track. The problem with bigger nonprofits sometimes is financials, right?
Yeah.
The more layers, the more depth to their financials, the harder it is to manage the grant allocation and how it flows up and down and back and forward and right and left and all of those different things. And then we just added another full-time job to the sourcing, procuring, complying, monitoring, revolving door cycle. Now we've added another layer of, almost forensic accounting,
Right.
in a way where we have to basically say, okay, we need to like log every cent and where it goes and all of that stuff. And look, it's not like we need to reach perfection.
Right.
There's a certain level of grace here, but you can't just throw caution to the wind.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what we do in our industry is we always tell people, look, on the laundry list of things that they have to do in a day, we want to come in and help. We want to take that burden off. And it's tough for people to let go of the reins, but it's important. And we see it all the time where we're helping out with grants, we're taking over their portfolio, and all of a sudden they the meat and potatoes of their industry and their organization gets better because, they've taken some of the burden off of that and allowed us to really help them out with funding,
Yeah, I mean, it brings me back to the point that I always say, which is nonprofits shouldn't really be defined by their size. They should be defined by the execution of their mission.
Right.
Right? Are grants available to like startup nonprofits?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, capacity building grants, planning technical assistance programming, all of those things are certainly available to newer nonprofits, mid-sized nonprofits, small nonprofits, right?
Right.
Large nonprofits sometimes operate in just a different pool of funding, right? And that can give a smaller nonprofit sometimes a leg up,
Yeah.
right? Now, speaking of big programs, the government, my best friend,
It's
Uncle
your
Sam,
best friend. Yeah.
Uncle Sam is the king of big, grand programs.
He is.
Off the top of your head, name me just a few organizations that deliver massive amounts of funding.
Within what space?
Any space. I mean, there's just so many. It's insane.
Right.
I mean, every single division of federal government delivers the crazy amounts of money. DHS, HHS, DOJ, Department of Education,
All the
Department
acronyms.
of, Children and Family Affairs, Children and Family Services, Veterans Affairs, USDA. I mean, I cannot stress enough, every single facet of federal government we're giving money away.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars every fiscal year.
Every year.
I mean, we did a grant for $9 million for chickens. Chickens.
Say it again. Chickens.
Chickens, eggs, hatchery, living quarters. And then we developed a program where we gave a public school system, a large public school system, the ability to buy eggs at half cost from the nonprofit, which brought revenue into the nonprofit, let them be self-sustaining, and it all came from the United States Department of Agriculture through a massive 7-figure grant
Who would have thought?
for, say with me, 1, 2, 3, chickens. Chickens, right? I mean,
The opportunity is endless.
so we go from that to billionaires who need to give away money for tax purposes.
They do.
Yeah,
They do.
which is fine.
Yep.
Billionaires can
Yeah.
certainly do that. And then we have foundations who give off money from their endowments and interest earned and all that stuff because they can't really keep it. How do you find these things?
Yeah. Well, I would say Google, but don't do that.
What about Bing? I mean,
Bing,
Yeah.
Microsoft Excel,
Edge.
Edge.
That's
That's my best friend.
That's your enemy.
That's
I mean. So here's where I want to leave us off
Sounds good.
because we talked a lot
We did.
about the overarching ideas of grants. there is a funder somewhere who wants to fund
Who will give you money.
for what you are doing.
Yes.
As long as you're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
You're doing it for the right reasons. You're affecting a community purpose. As the government says, economical gain,
All the
making
fancy
things
words.
better, everything, everything the government likes to promise its citizens, all those amazing things. But how is it possible to really get there?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is really simple in my mind.
What's that?
You come to us.
That's it.
I mean, we know how to do it.
We do.
That's it. That's all we do. We live and breathe this realm. We live and breathe fundraising, grants, raising capital,
Oversight,
for
project
nonprofits,
management,
and
buy-in.
we just take care of it for you.
Yeah.
And you can do what you do best, which is affect your actual community change.
That's right.
And that's pretty awesome.
That's it. It is. It is. Allow us to go fund you.
And with that, I think we should just tell them.
We should.
All right, ready on 3?
Ready?
1,
2,
2, 3.
Go fund yourself.